The year was 1939. The world was on the cusp of a monumental shift, a change that would alter the course of history forever. Europe was on the brink of war. The air was thick with tension, and the streets buzzed with an uneasy anticipation. People went about their daily lives, but there was a palpable sense of dread that hung over the continent. Liesel Meminger, a 10-year-old girl with haunted eyes, journeyed with her younger brother Werner to Molching, a small town near Munich. The train ride was a new experience for them, filled with the clatter of wheels on tracks and the murmur of other passengers. They were being sent to live with foster parents, a consequence of their mother's inability to care for them any longer. Their mother, worn down by years of hardship, had made the heart-wrenching decision to give them up in the hope of a better life. The train ride was long and tiring. The rhythmic motion of the train was both soothing and unsettling, a constant reminder of the journey they were on. Liesel felt a knot of anxiety in her stomach. She clutched her brother's hand, seeking comfort in his presence. The uncertainty of their future loomed large in her mind. She barely knew these people she was being sent to. The thought of living with strangers was terrifying. She wondered what they would be like, if they would be kind or harsh. What if they didn't like her? The fear of rejection gnawed at her. She had already lost so much. The thought of losing more was unbearable. What if they sent her away? The possibility of being unwanted again was a shadow that darkened her thoughts. As the train pulled into the Molching station, tragedy struck. The journey that had begun with a glimmer of hope ended in heartbreak. Young Werner, frail and sickly, breathed his last breath. Liesel was devastated. The loss of her brother was a blow that left her reeling, her heart heavy with sorrow. In that moment of profound grief, she spotted a small black book lying on the ground. It seemed out of place, a solitary object amidst the chaos of the station. It was a gravedigger's manual, dropped by accident. The book, with its worn cover and yellowed pages, caught her eye. Impulsively, Liesel picked it up and slipped it into her pocket. It was a small act of defiance in the face of overwhelming loss. The book felt like a lifeline, something to hold on to in a world that had suddenly become so uncertain. It was a small act of defiance in the face of overwhelming loss. Holding the book close, she felt a flicker of strength, a spark of resilience. This stolen book, the Gravedigger's Handbook, would become her first connection to the power of words. It was more than just a book, it was a symbol of hope and survival. It was the seed of a passion that would bloom in the darkest of times. In the pages of that book, Liesel would find solace and strength, a refuge from the harsh realities of her world. The words would become her companions, her teachers, and her source of comfort in the days to come. Liesel was met at the station by her new foster parents, Hans and Rosa Hubermann. Hans, a kind-faced man with silver eyes and a love for the accordion, immediately put Liesel at ease. Rosa, on the other hand, was a force of nature. She was loud, she was strict, and she had a vocabulary that could make a sailor blush. But beneath her gruff exterior, Liesel would soon learn, beat a heart of gold. Their home on Himmel Street was modest but welcoming. It was here that Liesel would find solace, friendship, and the love of a family. Life with the Hubermans was simple but not easy. Money was tight, and food was often scarce. Rosa took in washing to make ends meet, her booming voice echoing through the small house. Hans, a house painter by trade, was a calming presence. He taught Liesel to roll cigarettes, played his accordion for her, and most importantly, taught her to read. Next door to the Hubermans lived Rudy Steiner, a skinny boy with a shock of blonde hair and a mischievous grin. He was fast on his feet, a talented athlete, and utterly smitten with Liesel. Rudy became Liesel's best friend, her partner in crime, her confidant. They spent their days exploring the bombed-out ruins of their neighborhood, stealing apples from the orchard on the other side of the bridge, and dreaming of a world beyond the shadow of war. Rudy's unwavering loyalty and infectious optimism were a constant source of strength for Liesel. He was the brother she had lost, the friend she desperately needed. Section 4. The Power of Words in a World of Silence. Under Hans's patient guidance, Liesel's love of words blossomed. She devoured every book she could get her hands on, her hunger for stories insatiable. The basement of the Hubermann house, where Hans had taught her to read, became her sanctuary. It was her escape from the harsh realities of the world above. As Liesel's reading skills grew, so too did her understanding of the world around her. She began to see the power of words to comfort, to inspire, to challenge, and to change. She also discovered the joy of storytelling. She would read to her mama, to Rudy, and to the other residents of Himmel Street, transporting them to faraway lands and magical adventures. Words became her weapons against the darkness, her shield against the fear that threatened to consume them all. Section 5. A Hidden Soul in the Basement. As the war raged on, a new arrival came to Himmel Street. The once peaceful neighborhood was now a place of uncertainty and fear, with the echoes of bombings and the sight of war-torn streets becoming a daily reality for its residents. Max Vandenburg, a young Jewish man, arrived at the Hubermann's doorstep, desperate for refuge. His journey had been perilous, filled with narrow escapes and constant fear of being discovered by the Nazis. He was the son of a man who had saved Hans's life during the First World War, and now Hans, despite the immense risk, was returning the favor. The bond between their families was forged in the trenches of war, a bond that transcended time and danger. Max's arrival brought danger into their lives. The basement, once a place for storage and occasional refuge during air raids, became a secret sanctuary for Max. The Hubermanns knew that harboring him could lead to their own demise, but their sense of duty and compassion overpowered their fear. Hiding a Jew in Nazi Germany was a crime punishable by death. The laws were strict, and the consequences were severe. The Hubermanns lived in constant fear of being discovered, knowing that a single mistake could lead to their execution. But the Hubermanns, driven by their conscience and their humanity, refused to turn him away. They provided Max with food, shelter, and a semblance of safety, even as the world outside grew increasingly hostile. Liesel formed a special bond with Max. She was initially curious about the stranger in their basement, but that curiosity soon turned into a deep and abiding friendship. They were kindred spirits, both seeking solace in the written word. Liesel, who had discovered the power of books, found in Max a fellow traveler on her literary journey. They shared stories, dreams, and hopes, finding comfort in each other's company. She read to him, shared her dreams with him, and brought him snippets of the world outside the basement walls. Through her words, Max could escape the confines of his hiding place and experience the world beyond. In return, Max gave her the gift of his stories, his words painting vivid pictures in her mind. He told her tales of his past, of his family, and of the world before the war. His stories were a source of strength and inspiration for Liesel. He taught her the power of words to challenge oppression, to fight for justice, and to keep hope alive even in the darkest of times. Through their shared love of literature, they found a way to resist the tyranny that surrounded them, and to hold on to their humanity in the face of unimaginable adversity. The basement became more than just a hiding place. It was a sanctuary of hope and resilience. In the midst of war and persecution, the bond between Liesel and Max was a testament to the enduring power of friendship and the human spirit. Their story is a reminder that even in the darkest times, there is light to be found in the connections we make and the stories we share. It is a story of courage, compassion, and the unbreakable bond between two souls who found solace in each other. Section 6. The Shadow of the Swastika. The shadow of the Nazi regime loomed large over Himmel Street. The once vibrant and bustling neighborhood was now cloaked in an atmosphere of fear and oppression. The swastika, a symbol of hatred and tyranny, was omnipresent, casting a dark pall over the lives of the residents. The war news grew increasingly grim, food became even scarcer, and the threat of air raids hung heavy in the air. Each day brought new challenges and uncertainties. The sound of air raid sirens became a haunting melody, a constant reminder of the ever-present danger from above. Families huddled together in basements, praying for their safety as bombs rained down. The Hitler Youth, with their armbands and their hateful ideology, cast a long shadow over the lives of the children. They were indoctrinated with propaganda, taught to hate and to follow blindly. The innocence of childhood was stolen, replaced with a rigid and cruel doctrine that left little room for compassion or independent thought. Rudy's athletic prowess made him a prime target for their recruitment efforts, but he resisted, his loyalty to his friends and his own sense of right and wrong stronger than their propaganda. He stood as a beacon of defiance, a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming pressure, one could still choose to stand up for what was right. Liesel witnessed firsthand the insidious nature of hatred and prejudice. She saw how easily people could be swayed by fear and lies, how quickly neighbors could turn against each other. The propaganda was everywhere, inescapable, seeping into every aspect of life and poisoning the minds of the people. She saw her Jewish classmates ostracized, their once bright futures now overshadowed by the dark cloud of anti-Semitism. The ghettos were a stark reminder of the cruelty and inhumanity that had taken hold. Families were torn apart, lives destroyed, all in the name of a twisted ideology. Her neighbors disappear in the night, taken away by the Gestapo, never to be seen again. The empty homes stood as silent witnesses to the horrors that had unfolded, a chilling testament to the reach of the Nazi regime. The fear was palpable, a constant companion that never left, and the fear that had settled like a shroud over her community. It was a fear that permeated every interaction, every conversation. People were afraid to speak out, afraid to trust, afraid to hope. The sense of community that had once been so strong was now fractured, replaced by suspicion and dread. Through it all, her love of words remained a constant. In the pages of her books, she found solace and escape. The stories transported her to different worlds, places where the darkness of her reality could not reach. Writing became her way of making sense of the chaos around her, a way to hold on to her humanity. Books became her refuge, her source of strength, and her reminder that even in the darkest of times there was still beauty, hope, and humanity to be found. The library was her sanctuary, a place where she could lose herself in the words and find a glimmer of light in the overwhelming darkness. It was through these stories that she learned about resilience, courage, and the enduring power of the human spirit.